This is Voice of the Bus, Mark Johnson, and you're listening to the Folsom Frenzy Podcast.
Welcome to the Folsom Frenzy Podcast. My name is Jake, and I'm here with Sreyas, Topher, and Chase. And your Colorado Buffaloes are 8-2 with a big win against Utah. Guys, what are your overall thoughts for the game?
Wow. I feel like I open every single time saying wow lately, but it really was wow. You know, the best part is I'll lead off by saying, I'll echo what Coach Prime said, which is we know we can play better, and we still executed in all three phases of the game. I mean, we had the punt return for touchdown with special teams. Mata did his thing. The defense, we did have that big bomb that Travis Hunter unfortunately gave up. But realistically, we had some great turnovers. 4 turnovers, right, guys? Because we had the 3 picks and then the fumble recovery. Wow, man. Wow. That was a fantastic performance. And we even got a little bit of running game in. Isaiah Augusta had that great touchdown run. This was a complete win. I know we left some points on the table. I know we have some performances that could be better, but wow, that is absolutely fantastic. I am so pleased that we finally took out Utah after all the torture that they put us through. Every single year, it seemed like we were about to be bowl eligible, and then we'd lose to them in the final game of the year. 2022, I'll never forget being down 42-0 at halftime and sitting there and taking it and just saying, well, maybe the next era is going to be better. And then, of course, we hired Coach Prime right after that. So it was very cathartic for me. I had a blast. And I will say one other weird comment is where I sit on the south side, the new scoreboard does block out the sun this time of year. So it was kind of cold, but that is a minor nit. I'm so happy. That was absolutely fantastic. We got 2 more regular season games left to take care of business of, and man, everything that we've ever wanted is right for the taking. What do you guys think?
Yeah, tear down the scoreboard because it gets cold in Folsom, although it didn't look too bad there. I got a little bit of pushback about my overly aggressive prediction for this game. And frankly, we spotted them some points. I was pretty spot on. I thought we were going to kill them. We killed them. I was a little surprised that Coach Prime said in his post-game interview that he didn't feel like we executed on all 3 sides of the ball. I get it. We could have played better. There are parts of that game that did not go 100% to plan, but that was a dominant win. We were clearly the better team the entire way through, and that is not a bad Utah defense, right? Like people were upset, people being Jake, who's about to explain it, that we didn't start offensively maybe necessarily the way that we wanted, and they did stop us, right? But this is not necessarily like this team does not have to score every time they get the ball. Like this team showed that the defense plays hard, and it doesn't matter. I understand Utah has injuries and so on and so forth. And I was a little concerned about how they exploited us with the tight ends. And I think as we are now looking and potentially talking about playoff implications, Big 12 championship implications, bowl game implications, there's a little bit of worry about how easily they were able to exploit us with size with the tight ends, but we'll come back to that later. Overall, I mean, hats off. This was a great win by the team. Everyone got involved. You're down without Jimmy Horn, and still the wide receiver core came through. Will Shepherd. I mean, everyone contributed on the offensive side. Some great running plays. I was stoked about that game. That was it's so cathartic, right? After, and you kind of mentioned this, Sreyas, but after watching Utah take away the bowl game every year, my only regret. People are complaining about us scoring the touchdown there at the end of the game. My only regret is that we did not call our timeouts to go score again. I wanted to lay it on them, right? And it's more personal for the longtime CU fans than maybe the Prime fans, right? That are like, oh, Utah, not really a rival. It's not really a rivalry. But after watching them take away the bowl game every year and watching them be the better team pretty much every year, it was very cathartic to watch us absolutely boat race them. And if I'm being totally honest, my big thoughts on this was it almost felt like the roles had reversed, right? Like Utah looked like the team that Colorado used to be, especially offensively. And we looked like the team that Utah used to be, where we were just better and we just beat the lights out of them. We could talk a little bit more, and we will talk a little bit more about some of the penalty issues that we're still having, stuff like that. But overall, 10 out of 10 win, very comfortable win. I think we made a statement on national television today more than we normally do at noon. I know the haters are going to keep talking about the injuries, but Ralphie had a decent run at halftime. What could you not love about blue skies? What could you not love about that football game? That was phenomenal. Hats off. The team did a great job.
Real quick before I let Jake and Topher go, Utah had the 11th ranked scoring defense in the country coming into this game. Very important context. Their offense has struggled. And actually, I think Isaac Wilson started playing better towards the end. He did make some very good throws. Actually, from our angle, I don't know if you saw this too, Topher, but it seemed like he hit some, at least 2 or 3 really nice layered throws right over the top, right underneath the safeties, right over the linebackers. It looked nice, and he might end up being a guy in the future for them. But that's a really good scoring defense and a really good front seven, as they always have. So that's an important piece of context.
Absolutely. And Utah, this is Utah's style of game is just to get in a slugfest, make it a low scoring game. They know they don't have an offense that's going to be able to put up a bunch of points. So they just want to, make it ugly, make it rough, match you with physicality. And in the first half, right, there was a lot of times when Shedeur was really having to hold the ball a very, very long time, scramble around. I thought Utah came with great physicality on defense, especially in the secondary, right? And I think that's the way that as an underdog that you have to play in order to give you a chance. I saw a lot of phases that I thought we need to execute better on, and I'm very excited that we're working towards that. But what I'm most excited about is it feels like we are playing our best football in November. We are building momentum in November. We are playing. We're starting to click on all 3 phases. This just feels like a litmus test of we know we can win the Big 12 and we know we can win the Big 12 decisively. So a lot of big things moving forward and very exciting game and atmosphere today.
Guys, I am so pumped. We are 8-2. That was my preseason prediction, and we have 2 more games that are very, very winnable. Kansas is going to be a tricky game. We'll get into that here at the end of the episode. But I think the stat that tells the story of this football game and the stat that gets me the most excited is we gave up 50 yards rushing. And that actually doesn't include the sack yards. It was 39 yards if you include the sacks. 50 yards rushing against this Utah team who has a really solid running back, and their quarterback's the 5th string. You knew they were going to run the football, and see you put a stop to that immediately. This defense is elite, and we need to start saying that and praise this defense. I know we've been praising them all season, but they're elite. This is one of the best defenses in the country. I love how the defense stepped up in big moments. Sreyas, you mentioned it, 3 picks. This was a back-to-back interception game from Nakai Hill-Green. Just a phenomenal game. Shiloh stepped up and got a great strip sack. Just such a fun game, and let's just soak it up. Sreyas tweeted earlier today, when we played Utah 2 years ago, we were down, 49-0 at half? Is that right, Sreyas?
42, yeah, 42-0 at half, yeah.
Soak
that
it
was
up.
ugly.
We are in the Coach Prime era, and it's awesome. It's so fun to be a Colorado football fan right now, and we are in very good shape to make a Big 12 championship run.
Absolutely. There's no question about it. We talked about this a lot after the Texas Tech game, but it's just nice to see them covering and pulling away from teams like this without necessarily emptying the tank, right? And we dipped into a lot of depth today, right? So Shane Cokes was still out. Preston Hodge, I think, was out too. That's a huge piece of our secondary right there. That's out. And then it would be nice to see Michael Welch get healthy again so we can get him in the mix. But we still ran the ball pretty well, all things considered. I think we only had 1 rushing yard in the first half when you count sack yards. But, man, Augusta broke off some big runs, and we needed that. And by the end of the game, the yardage battle does make it look like a decisive win. And, that's exactly what you need to be doing. And you're not gonna necessarily see Travis give up a 40-yard touchdown like that. Maybe again. Hopefully not again. That was just a bizarre moment. I think all of us said, whoa, what was going on there? I can't believe that happened.
And the coverage was not that bad. The coverage was not that bad. Like, everyone's like, he got cooked. Like, he was there. It's not like he got totally. He wasn't shredded. Like, it was a well thrown ball. It happens, right? And I think that's the first touchdown he's given up all year. So anyway, I just have to stand up for my guy.
Yeah, and to be fair, we were talking about 4th, 5th string quarterback. That was Isaac Wilson. He has started some other games for them this year. That's Zach Wilson's brother, so he comes from good pedigree. He has a lot of talent. I think he was a 4-star coming out of high school. So he does have an opportunity to be a pretty legit quarterback in the future, and he kind of showed glimpses of that. Although he also showed that he was a true freshman pretty readily. That pick that kind of semi-sealed the game in the fourth quarter is a great example of that. So
Yeah,
and really quickly, how much better on a general basis is this team than the team that played against Nebraska, right? Topher made the point. This team's playing its best football in November. This team versus the Nebraska team is almost unrecognizable. And a lot of that has been personnel changes. A lot of that has been coaching changes. A lot of that has been schematic changes, but that is what great teams do. And so a lot of people want to hold us back still because of that Nebraska game. The Kansas State game, hey, that's a good team. We went wire to wire with them. That game could have gone either way. The Nebraska game was embarrassing. But I mean, and yeah, I know Kansas State might be losing. Who cares? They are a good football team. They are objectively a good football team. But the Nebraska loss was really concerning at the time. We were deflated, right? But this team is different. Like, this team has improved. And it's surprising because you have so many older guys on this team. To see the amount that they have improved, I think that's a testament to coaching. And we have been, there have been times where we've been a little bit down on coaching as far as like the penalties, stuff like that goes. But it is clear, like the proof is in the pudding. These guys are better than they were before, and a lot of that is on the Lions. So I think it's just pretty impressive there.
All right, guys, let's get into the game in a little bit more detail. Let's talk offense. Shedeur came out and threw the interception to start. Sreyas, you said it. There were a couple good run plays. Charlie Offerdahl finally got his first touchdown. But guys, what were your overall thoughts with the offense? Draylon Miller went off. I won't share everything, but yeah, what do you guys think?
Yeah. Will Shepherd, love to see him be kind of like that end zone scoring target, and he has become that. This wasn't the first time that he did that, but 2 different times you got to hit him with the too small, right? You got to hit him with the too small. He absolutely sunned that DB. I don't remember which DB it was being at the game, but he just absolutely just snatched that ball. And that is exactly what you need. You need that kind of red zone scoring target. And he's proven to be that. Love seeing Draylon get into the mix. He had a couple huge plays. And I honestly think that that big pass play in the fourth quarter was the moment that the game felt sealed. I think you guys can relate, but I think some of us are so traumatized, but some of the things that we've seen in the past, that it never really feels over until you have that 3-score lead with 5 minutes left, and you're moving the clock, and you've proven that you can stop the run. We've just been through so much. We've seen so many bad losses, but this team's ability to get those key plays, those big plays on third down, to move the chains, to get those stops. Well, we'll talk about defense in a bit, but seriously, to get those running game stops, those big third down stops, fourth down stops, that's what sets them apart. And that's what has prevented them to this point in the season from having some of those absolutely epic collapses that we've seen in the past. So great seeing Draylon get in the mix. And then Travis Hunter, he did get robbed of a pretty big pass play because of what happened at the end of the third quarter. I guess they snapped the ball a little too late, but loved that trick play at the end of the game. I honestly thought that he was going to throw the ball and get a passing touchdown too on top of everything else. That would have been the icing on the cake for me. But against a scoring defense like Utah, regardless of what was going on with their injuries and stuff, to be able to put up 42 points and then have another 7 points come the way of that punt return touchdown, that is a great day at the office, and I will take that any day.
Yeah, I was thinking about it more, Sreyas. I'm kind of happy that it was a rushing touchdown with how it turned out. He totally evaded the entire defense and just made a beautiful play to get in the end zone. It was that moment where I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy's really making a good push for the Heisman today.
And I'll call it right now. November 16th, 2024. My uncle and dad were able to go to the game. I said, congratulations. You guys got to see the game where Travis Hunter solidified his Heisman campaign. I'm calling it. I think it's over. And unless he disappears off the face of the planet tomorrow, I think that was it. I think he's already the odds favorites. This is not particularly a hot take, but the highlight reel, everything that he does all the time was on extra emphasis today. And you've got Gus Johnson calling the game, but let's talk about that catch. Like, that's got to be one of the most insane catches I've ever seen. Like the captioning that you can do with it, right? They are double covering him. And the fact that he had that interception, and I know it was a little bit of a cheese ball interception, but overall, right? Like, there's no, and I get it. Everyone listening to this podcast is going to agree. There is no better player in in college football than Travis Hunter. There has never been a player at the University of Colorado better than Travis Hunter. We are like, the good days are right now. And Travis Hunter putting on a show for what was, Jake is going to steal the Offensive Player of the Game award away from him today, even though we've had several people. We had a viewer call in and tell us to make him our Offensive Player of the Game, demanded justice for Travis. We're not even going to give him Offensive Player of the Game. And yet he is still so dynamic and he's everywhere, right? And so I think this was not his best game offensively, but the fact that they were able to find a way to get him a touchdown, I don't want to hear anything about stat padding. I'm talking about you, Jake Shapiro, huge fan of the pod. It's not stat padding. We're getting our guy the Heisman. Maybe it is stat padding. I don't know. But he ran it. It's not like it was a pass. The clock was running down. We were too close to the end zone anyway. It was a running play, totally legitimate. I don't know.
Shador made a comment about that at the end of the game. He's like, some teams try to pad stats, but no, that touchdown that Travis had, that was supposed to come to me. I could have ran a better route, but I taught Travis everything he knows with scrambling out of that and getting into the end zone.
And as far as feel good touchdowns at the end, right? You get Travis his touchdown and you get Charlie a touchdown. And how cool is, everyone loves Charlie. He should not have been our RB1. Looking back on it, Augusta is clearly the guy, right? But to get Charlie and the smile on Charlie's face, he got his game ball. That was awesome. Huge fan.
Did you guys see that video I took? Of Charlie hugging Coach Prime. Oh my God, what a moment. There were two.
Try to describe it real quick for the listeners, Sreyas.
So Charlie, Charlie's such a fan favorite. He works so hard. He's an OB. He's a true OB, but he was a walk-on until this year, And for him, I think that was his first career touchdown, wasn't it?
Yep.
Oh my God. So Charlie, he gets mobbed by his teammates and everyone, of course, right? And then on his way to the sideline, Coach Prime is right in his way and just gives him the biggest hug and holds on to him and just, I'm sure, told him how proud he is of him and how much he loves him. Oh, my God. What a moment. Between that and singing Happy Birthday at the top of my lungs for Miss Peggy Copham, number 100 for her, the absolute apple of Buff Nation's eye, right? The absolute, the epitome, right? The absolute epitome of Buffs fandom, being able to celebrate that with her. Oh my God. Just, those are the two moments that I'll definitely remember for a very, very long time, if not forever, from that game.
The chills that you got hearing 50,000 fans sing Happy Birthday, amazing. Like that is a moment that will be cemented in like my core memories of being a Buff fan, because we made that happen. Now the offense, we played really, really well, right? We were very, very productive, but there are two aspects that I think we need to improve on. We only gave up 3 sacks, but that's with Shador being Houdini like 4 or 5 times. And those weren't exactly like lack of time because him getting hit. Like the O-line held for about 2 1,000, almost 3 1,000 before he was getting chased after and had to make something happen. I think we need to make some adjustments as far as our route combinations and make sure there's definitely a 3-step route where it's like 1, 2, 3, you hit that 3rd step and the ball is out, especially if it's like zone beater, man beater. If it's a man, we have to have a slant that's going to be running away from the man defense. If it's going to be in zone, we have to have a little hook that's going to sit in a soft spot short. I'm so tired of watching Shador make something out of nothing. It felt like if he didn't make those plays, momentum could really swing into the unfavored really quick, right? A quick pick and then like 3 or 4 sacks in a row. And suddenly we're on our heels back at home. And it feels like we're one bad play away from unraveling. So that's something I wanted to bring to the attention is like, this is where we're leaving meat on the bones.
But worse than that, worse than just the pass rush is the penalties, the holding penalties in particular on the offensive line. I get it. Jordan Seaton's a freshman. I haven't actually seen his PFF score yet for today's game. I don't know if they're out yet. But the holding penalties are so punishing. And to his credit, if you're going to get a penalty, you might as well just roll all over on top of him and really get the penalty, right? But those penalties are killing us all the time, and we're always backing ourselves up. And so I think, that's an area where we really need to see improvement. On the bright side, I thought today was the best example of Shedeur trusting the ability to run and go get the first down if it's there. I think earlier in the season, Shedeur does not take some of those chances where he can run and easily get the first down. He's been doing a great job of doing that today, and it adds another dimension to his game. I thought Gus Johnson made the best argument today when he said he is a serviceable runner, or maybe it was Joel Klatt, but a serviceable runner, not great. It's not really like a signature part of his game by any stretch, right? He's inventive. He's Houdini. That's signature parts of his game. But in a pinch when he needs to, he's like Daniel Jones. He can go get you the first down if he needs to. Thank God he looks way more graceful than Daniel Jones when he runs and goes and gets you the first down. But I just thought those were the other couple things that have, like, over the course of the season, this was probably not Jordan Seaton's best game. He, for whatever reason, and this is, I was an O-line guy in high school. When you are blocking, right? Like all the sled drills you do, everything is inside, it's tight. And for whatever reason today, and Jordan Seaton's better than this, I don't know why he was doing it today of all days. He was coming around and trying to like bear hug guys and grab the sides of their shoulder. I don't know if it's because Utah's got a really good defense. They're shifty, they're fast. I don't know if that's what it was. I don't know if I don't know. It was just very weird to see because he is generally very good technically with the sled drills and stuff like that. And so to be going out, you're just begging for a holding call because as soon as Shedeur twists and turns back there, which he does a lot, you're going to get a holding call as soon as the guy sees it. And on the running plays in particular, that was hard to see. I don't know if you guys remember this, but we had I can't remember, 10, 15-yard run that was called back because, for no good reason. Like you have your guy, but instead of grabbing him on the inside of the shoulder pads, you're twisting him. So it's a technical thing. I guess, people probably don't care all that much, but it's one of those things where it's like, it's small, but we're playing big, high-stakes football, and very soon we're going to be playing important games, whether it's a bowl game, whether it's a Big 12 championship, hopefully, whether it's in a college football playoff game. But you can get away with those kinds of things against a shorthanded Utah team. You got to fix it before you get to those big games if you want to prove a point and send a message.
Chase, that is a coach's dream right there. To have coachable moments like that in a game that you win handily, and you have still season left to correct it. So I'm sure that Coach Lodeholt in particular is gonna be able to scrutinize that and pass that feedback along. Now, before we continue on here, what did you guys see on that fumble from Shedeur? I think Cash Cleveland snapped. It looked like an okay snap. What did you guys see?
Yeah, it was a little low, but it was really on Shedeur. He kind of lifted his head up as he was taking the snap, and I think it was mostly on Shedeur. It wasn't a perfect snap. It was a little low, but I don't think it was on Cash.
So I guess the reason why I ask is holding calls notwithstanding. This was against the Utah defense. Only 3 sacks given up. I'll take it. That was a very serviceable offensive line performance. You always have room for improvement, especially like we've just been pinpointing and highlighting areas that are freshman stud, who's future possibly first round pick. I would hope at the level that he's improving with his size and his capabilities. But overall, I'll take it. I mean, we're not that far removed from the 7-8 sack type games where it just looks like we're a sieve. We can't run the ball at all. And we were able to at least run the ball in the second half when we really needed to. And the pass protection was just good enough. Like it was just good enough. And we have good enough escapability to be able to continue moving the ball. So I'll take that as a sign of growth. Now we'll see if that continues in the final couple of weeks here before we get to the postseason. But overall, given where we were last year, I'll take it. We're headed in the right direction overall.
Yeah, there's 2 more things I want to call out on offense that you guys didn't touch on too much. First off, the run game. We only rushed the ball with our leading rusher, August Dave. He only had 7 carries. Hayden only had 4. So we didn't really establish the run. I honestly didn't like the designs of the run plays this game. I think it was a lot of like draw plays, a lot of options where it took Shedeur a little bit of time to hand off the football. And the O-line just kind of got beat by a good Utah defensive line on a lot of those run plays. But he was able to bust off a 37-yard touchdown run, which was fun to see. But yeah, we'll have to see how the Buffs establish the run, especially if they do make it to the Big 12 championship game. They're going to have to establish the run versus a BYU and even the college football playoff. So wanted to note that. And then I know you guys alluded to a little bit, but I want to give Draylon Miller his flowers a little bit as well. He led the team in receiving yards as a true freshman. And I thought Coach Prime doesn't recruit freshmen. So giving Draylon Miller his flowers, he's an absolute stud. Coach Prime has called him this before. He called him this at the press game conference. But he's a mini Deebo Samuel. He's an absolute stud. And if you look at this roster, some people are already saying this team's going to take a big drop off next year. I mean, when you lose Travis Hunter and Shador, there's probably naturally going to be a drop off depending on what we get in the portal. But looking solely at wide receivers, I don't think this team's going to take a big drop off. Maybe, losing Travis Hunter, you're going to take a drop off. But if you're looking at the other guys, and this is not putting any shame on Will Shepherd and LeJontay Wester. Those guys are absolute studs, and I think they're both going to make it to the NFL. But you got Cam Michael on your bench, who's hurt. Omarion Miller, who's hurt. Both of those guys are studs. And Draylon Miller just put up 100 receiving yards against the best defense in the Big 12. This future's looking bright for the receiving core. And that doesn't include any of the freshmen coming in. So I'm excited. Just want to give Draylon his flowers. But with that,
hey, real quick point. So a lot of people are quick to point out the smaller freshman recruiting classes, but if you think about this as an organization where you're trying to almost like run it, think of it like a business. I know that's a little controversial right now, but it's the NIL era. If you're bringing people in, you like straight out of college, so to speak, or straight out of high school, like into your job, you want the best of the best. You want someone that you can plug right in and they're an instant contributor. And as far as people that you bring in otherwise, you want them to have a little bit of experience, to at least experience the college level in some fashion. Like Augustin, I think he came from Arkansas. Colton Hood came from Auburn. A lot of these guys are, just they get the taste. They were level ones, right? They were entry level at a different program. And now we're bringing them in and allowing them to flourish and grow and get to that next level. And when you really think about it that way, that is no different than a lot of other successful organizations, not in football, like just in real life. And so it's really just taking NIL to like that professional level that you see that we are familiar with in the industry, right? Once you leave college. So all that criticism, I think it's just lacking in perspective. This is the new era of college football, and I personally really like that model. And it seems like the kids that we're bringing in are super high-quality individuals. Like, they do great in the classroom, and they've established themselves as good citizens, right? Just good citizens in the community and doing a great job. So I'm a big fan of that form. I know a lot of people talk about freshman recruiting, but I think it's a good mix. I'm behind it.
All righty, with that, let's shift gears to defense. A good showing from the defense, 4 turnovers from the team, 4 sacks, 9 tackles for loss. Cameron Craig led the team with 6 solo tackles, 7 total tackles. Guys, what do you think about the defense overall?
Yeah, everyone has been saying this entire time that Utah's the best defense in the Big 12. Colorado's the best defense in the Big 12. This defense is lights out. This defense plays so hard. And, we could talk. The turnovers are great, right? You're playing a backup freshman, very young quarterback. So I take that with a little bit of a grain of salt, but you are still out there in position to make plays. And it's the adjustments that made a lot of those interceptions happen that we made at halftime. The coordination is great, but more importantly, and the thing I want to harp on before you guys kind of break it down a little bit more is, more than any other Colorado defense that I've ever seen, other than maybe the Money Gang 2016, not even the Money Gang 2016 year, this defense runs and plays so hard. They lay the wood all the time. And sometimes it gets them in trouble, but they are flying to the ball. It is personal. And the number one guy for that is Cameron Craig. And he deserves a spot on Sundays. And Joel Klatt kind of talked about it today, but Coach Prime keeps saying, like, this is the guy that you need to be thinking about drafting when he talks to, not recruiters, scouts for NFL teams, because this guy is unbelievably behind the scenes spectacular. Like, he makes the entire defense better and he's flying around. I thought he had a great game today. Was really encouraged by that, but the defense should take a bow. It's important to remember we spotted them at least 9 points today on, with just variety of mistakes, turnovers, giving the ball on like the 30-yard line, right? Shador starts the game immediately with an interception right at the beginning that basically gifted them 3 points, and they still stood. They bend, but they don't break, right? You were in a horrible situation. There are previous CU teams where that interception happens and the game is over. You could just go home, right? Like legitimately, truly, like we would still be there because we're sickos, but like most fans would have just left. You saw Ralphie run, interception happened. They're going to go score a touchdown in 2 plays. Game is over. And even the Oregon game last year was kind of like that, right? And so the fact that they were put in a horrible position and bailed out the team over and over again. I mean, phenomenal performance. Even though there's 24 points scored against them today, technicality with an asterisk, right? Like I was really impressed by this defense, and they keep getting better. The defensive line is so stingy, right? How are you supposed to beat this team? You can't run on them, and you can't throw to half the field because Travis Hunter's there. He's going to go get an interception. Spectacular.
God, so true. I still love seeing Nikai Hill-Green fly around. I love that guy. He's so fun. I know we were talking to Dalton Wasserman a few weeks ago about this, but I totally agree with what he said. He is just you can look at replacing Trevor Woods with Nikai Hill-Green in the starting lineup as one of the greatest turning points of the season in general, much less the defense. And it's so clear why. I mean, that against Texas Tech, he just had a net between his hands, and he just caught that pass that was absolutely not intended to be caught. Like, under no circumstance does something like that get caught. Even if he was the receiver, if he was a tight end trying to catch that, there's a good chance you don't catch that. But today he had another big pick. I couldn't believe how far he had dropped back in coverage, and he was still right there. So he can do it all. He can get after the backfield. He can drop back in coverage a little bit. I know that's a big thing that we were saying about Trevor Woods, having moved over from the DB position, but he kind of does both better than Trevor Woods. And it's just amazing to see how much one individual player like that can just completely change the chemistry of a team. We've seen it before with Nate Landman, right? Nate Landman was that guy for several years where he was just flying around making tackles everywhere. And it feels like Nikai and Levante, and actually, he's a DB technically, but Cam Stillman Craig, like flying around making tackles too. It's like having multiple Nate Landmans out there. And I hope at the next level that Nate Landman and Nikai Hill-Green have the opportunity to play in the same defense together. That would be super, super fun to watch.
Yeah, Bentley too, one of the big bruisers. But I want to talk briefly about Travis Hunter's interception. This is going to be very brief, but it was such a high IQ play for him to have the awareness and just the innate ball hawking ability to be there and catch the football on the tip. If you look back at the replay, I mean, he's guarding another guy, and then it was kind of a lob pass or just a deep bomb from Wilson, and great tip by it was Hood, right? Was Hood on defense there? Yeah, great tip, great play by Hood, and then Travis Hunter, just with the great football IQ to be there to grab the pick. Another Heisman play by him was so fun to see. Topher, do you have any defense thoughts?
Yeah, sorry, I couldn't unmute myself there. The thing on the defense that I take from this game, and it's the intangibles before the snap that make us really, really good, right? So when you see every time Utah came out in a bunch, Travis, Cam, and Colton or DJ, all of them were talking to each other, hand signaling, passing off the motions, and they do it flawlessly, right? The level of communication it takes to be able to continue to execute man or switch from man to zone, given different formations on the fly from our DBs, is so hard to game plan against, right? Offensive coordinators look for little weaknesses. It's like when they play man, you can be out leveraged. There was one play in particular that led to a sack where the jet motion came across and whipped back out, and Cam Stillman Craig was able to pass it off and then see that it came back and jumped the route. Nothing was there, ended up in a sack. Little things like that, and communication and passing off the motions. That's film study. That's coaching. That's communication. That's camaraderie. And those are things that make a good defense great.
Cool. Let's transition. Special teams. Topher, your specialty. What did you think of special teams, guys?
Special teams were special today. They went out there. They made plays. I mean, I watched the field goal operation probably closer than anyone in other than the special teams coach in the stadium. And we have gotten faster and more efficient in our snap hold kick, right? Which is a big deal because, right, Mata naturally has that lower ball flight. We know, so that means we have to get the ball out faster, right? So the little milliseconds of a better snap, better hold makes a massive difference in making sure that we increase the percentage of the not getting blocked. Mata was also perfect, had perfect swings, looked really great, building a lot of confidence. And what we had one punt. Mark Vassett, I think, flipped the field. And that was probably one of the best
60
punts I've ever
yards.
seen. That was
60
phenomenal. You could
yards.
see him just get his hips through it. There's not enough that I can say about how good our special teams played today.
And
Our special teams are so good. Our special teams are so good that our old kicker also had a big game with Utah.
Yeah, I was going to say an uninformed person watching the game might think, wow, that Cole Becker guy is really good. I bet they wish they'd kept him. No, we don't. And here's why. One of the kickers, Alejandro Mata, went 7 for 7 today. Who knows? He probably would have hit a 50-yard field goal too. But guess what Alejandro Mata is going to do this year that Cole Becker definitely isn't going to do? Go to a bowl game. So at the end of the day, congratulations, Cole Becker. You left. You left us to die. You were afraid to compete for your job. And I get it because Alejandro Mata is that guy and you're not. Clearly you're not. You know why? Because you're going to be sitting at home watching us play a bowl game while you are, celebrating Mormon Christmas or whatever you do in Utah. So you made your decision. He's pretty good. He's really good. But I think the 20,000 million pound elephant in the room that Topher has for some reason not mentioned is we had a kickoff go like 10 yards into the end zone. And I was so astonished by it.
The wind is back, but
it doesn't matter.
It did go into the end zone.
I didn't say I didn't qualify, but it's possible. So, I mean, I don't want to beat it to death. I'm just saying a lot of people are very hateful. Mark Vassett got robbed. That punt was so close to being within like a foot of the end zone and it just bounced the wrong way. You know what? That's football. It happens. Such is life. But that's why I'm a little confused. I mean, what we've talked about today, right? Offense played amazing. Defense was lights out. Special teams, we returned a punt for God's. I don't even know if we've talked about that yet. And so what part, Coach Prime is like, we didn't play all three phases of the game well. What part of the game did we not play well? We had a little bit of a slow start on offense. That's okay. We hung 49 points on this team. And I don't know. I thought every phase of the team, that was lights out. And so, Jake, please, someone's got to talk about the punt return. And I've been talking about special teams for about 5 minutes, which is about 4.5 minutes too long to talk about special teams.
Yeah, what Coach Brown was getting at is it was sloppy, right? There were a bunch of flags, a bunch of holding calls. Like, that was not our best game, and this team has so much potential. But, yeah, I forgot to put Wester on my ticker for the special teams stats. Great return. I know. I know. What a sin. But, yeah, 76 yards on that return, just a phenomenal play by LeJohntay. I think he was a All-American punt returner potentially last year. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. But it was good to finally see him take one to the house. This team has – no, he wasn't. Okay. I think he was. I'll look it up. This team has so many weapons with Jimmy Horn. I know he's hurt, but LeJohntay Wester, so many guys that can do kickoff and punt returns. It was finally good to see one taken to the house.
Yeah. I'll also let me just add some fire to the Mata versus Becker thing. So we all remember what happened there, right? Very clearly, Becker left because Mata was Prime's guy. Well, looking at the updated numbers, Mata has a season long of 47. Becker has a season long of 48. Becker is making 70.6% of his field goals. Mata is making 84.6%. Becker has 56 points. Mata has 70. And Mata has only actually missed one field goal. He had another one blocked from short range, right? I think Nebraska blocked one. But he only missed that one against CSU, and I think that was a 43-yarder. So
it feels like
the optics look good with Cole, and we all know that Cole has that kind of capability. We saw him kick really well here, but you know what? Mata's our guy, and he's executed. He's gotten the job done.
And the most important statistic, Sreyas, is one of those kickers has the backing of the Folsom Frenzy podcast, and the other one doesn't. So really, I'm not to say what and a great hater in Topher, and the rivalry makes everyone better, I guess. I don't know. But I'm just saying, I don't think we should take credit for it. I'm just saying that maybe people should think about it, that maybe we have inspired greatness in our special teams.
Lesson learned, especially with a prime coach team. You got to talk smack. You got to tell them that they're not good at things. I mean, that's what the whole country did to the whole team. The entire team was getting clowned. The coaching staff was getting clowned. Oh, they're terrible. They're going to win 2 games. They're going to win 3 games. They're going to be worse than they were with Carl Durrell. Boy, did they take that personally, and boy, did they prove everyone wrong already. I mean, shoot, if the season ended right now at this very moment, they've already proven everyone wrong. Now it's a matter of how wrong, and the receipts are only going to get better, right? The receipts are only going to get better now.
LeJohntay Wester was, in fact, an All-American in 2023 for punt returning. So,
for FAU, there you go.
For FAU, yes.
I guess in my head, I was thinking about CU, and I was like, oh wait, what? We didn't have a punter.
No.
FAU. He's a beast. Yeah, LeJohntay's a beast.
So with that, let's talk Q Wealth Management players of the game. Go to Q Wealth Management to learn more. They can help you out with all your wealth management needs. But on offense, we have Draylon Miller, stud on offense, true freshman. We gave his stats earlier: 6 receptions for 108 receiving yards and 1 touchdown. He had a long of 49. On defense, Nikhai Hill-Green, also a phenomenal game. 5 tackles, 1 interception, and a ton of huge hits. Just an absolute monster out there. Special teams, just got done praising him. LeJohntay Wester, phenomenal punt return touchdown. Thank you, Q Wealth Management, for sponsoring us. All right, guys. Travis Hunter, is he winning the Heisman? Chase, you said it's a lock.
All right, let me just put it this way. As a true believer and someone who was in a legal sports betting state for a while, if you don't have a Travis Hunter to win the Heisman ticket and you sports bet at all, you're a fraudulent CU fan. Everyone should have them. Maybe we'll do a tweet thing where you can post your slips. I certainly have several of them. And I just don't know, like, what more are you supposed to do? And it's not that we're cheering against, I am cheering against all the other quarterbacks. But, like, if you're a running back at Boise State, I'm not going to actively cheer against you.
I'm actively cheering against Genty.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm cheering for my guy.
I get it. But regardless, if Genty wins it, I can live with it. But Travis is one of one, right? And we're beating it to death. But, like, even, if you watch Big Noon Kickoff today, or if you watch Game Day, right? Everyone says the same thing. You are not going to see another player like Travis Hunter next season in college football, right? You're not going to see another Travis Hunter in college football in the next 10 years. And when you put up someone like Cam Ward, he's having a great season, right? Or you put up Dylan Gabriel's having a great season, right? But they're comparing them against other quarterback Heisman winners that every year you can have a quarterback win the Heisman. But if the Heisman is truly an award for the best player in college football, right, there is no question. And the whole knock, and the thing that we talked about at the beginning of the year was he's clearly the best player in college football, but can he get his team to enough wins to justify the Heisman? And what I'm telling you right now is at 8-2, even if we finish 8-4 after being 4-7 last season, or 4-8 last season, if the Heisman Award is at all serious, then he's the guy. But more importantly, and they talked about this on Big Noon Kickoff to those who watched, there's several awards that he could win this year, right? The Blendenkoff Award and the Heisman, right? Like, these are all awards where he's clearly the best guy, right? And so, maybe he'll get a sweep. Now, I know we've been, as Colorado sports fans, for the most part, very spoiled with Nathan McKinnon and Nikola Jokic and stuff like that. Why not add another one? I just, there's no one better than Travis Hunter in college football, other than maybe Shedeur Sanders, who's also on the same team. But we got to pick one or the other. We can't divert our energy. Glad we're doing it around Travis. He is one of one. I think there's no question here. I'm ready to cash the ticket. I think DraftKings should give me a call tomorrow and beg me to sell my ticket for 95% of the value, because you can write it in ink. It's done, in my opinion.
Did we just lose Chase in the middle of his rant?
I can hear him.
Oh, man, I think I might have just had to drop out. I'm sorry.
But yeah,
my internet. I'm sorry, I ruined Chase's rant.
I can't believe we live in a world where Sreyas is going to talk about me ranting as the king of ranting on the podcast. But
of course, our aerospace engineer is the worst internet.
True. It's true. I don't know. I don't know what's been going on in my place lately. It's been especially bad. But, so far we're keeping an eye on this Boise State, San Jose State game. It's pretty close. But Ashton Genty, 4 minutes and 13 seconds left in the third as of this recording, is 19 carries for 63 and a touchdown. So a little bit of a down game so far, but that doesn't necessarily mean he won't turn it up. So we'll see how that turns out.
A loss there would solidify Travis even more, What's the score, Sreyas? I know when people are watching this, you already know. All right.
Yeah, 21-21. It's a close game. It is a very, very close game. So, we'll see how that turns out. God, if we're talking about value added, though, it's no question. How can you possibly debate value added when you have a guy playing literally every single snap of the game? Come on. At a high level, too. Yeah, sure. He had that one kind of tough play. But we'll see what the PFF, we're going to see what the PFF grade is before we, it's such a down game for Travis defensively. No, he had one play like that, which it looked like it was pretty good coverage. And then he even had a pick. So what more can you ask for? Like, in terms of value added, it's on a different level, man. It is on an absolutely different level.
A corner gave up a touchdown, and now his Heisman campaign. Be serious. A corner gave up one touchdown. It is game 10 that we just finished today. He has given up one touchdown, right? That he's been credited for. And he was there. He was on. It's not like it was horrible coverage. He got beat a little bit, but like you would not look at that and be like, oh, they broke his ankles, right? It's not like give me a break. I'm so over it. Like, whatever. The anti-Colorado, the anti-Prime, right? Like, Travis Hunter's got to be the most likable person in the history of the world. And people just have to hate on him because he's with Coach Prime. It doesn't make sense. Like, and this is a very brief soapbox moment, but like, Colorado was an absolute cellar dweller for so long. And they come in and we're the feel-good story about college football, but people hate us, right? And for reasons that are probably unsavory. But like, this is a team that you would be cheering for in the same way that people cheer for Kansas to be good, right? Like, we have gone through it and people still want to hate on us because they can't stand the idea of Coach Prime doing it his way and being successful. And I'm just over it, right? People are detracting from Travis Hunter on Twitter and stuff like that because he gave up a touchdown. Like, give me a break. He's been so unbelievable. One touchdown as a corner. And it's not like he's playing 10% of defensive snaps. He's playing every defensive snap or almost every defensive snap. He's going to give up one touchdown. It's possible he might go an entire season giving up one touchdown as a corner. That alone should win you the Heisman, even if he never played a down of offense. And I know I'm on my rant, and Sreyas' internet probably only caught half of that, but it's unbelievable. And I'm going to put up the graphic real quick, but the Heisman is now, he's a favorite. Like, it is more, the betting odds, for those who don't know, is saying it's more likely than not, kind of a coin flip that he wins the Heisman versus the field, right? That's some respect. But, and I don't know if you meant to transition to this yet or not, Jake, but it's too bad I'm doing it. Plus 5,500 to win the Natty is some serious respect. That's implying approximately a 1.5% chance that Colorado takes down the national championship, which, if you had told us 3 years ago, watching that Utah game where we were down 42-0 at halftime, I would have legitimately had you institutionalized. So I'm not saying we're going to win the Natty this year. I'm also not saying that I don't have a Buffs to win the Natty ticket in my sportsbook account right now. I certainly do. But, it's just like that alone, ignoring the fact, but like, there's a path. There's a legitimate path for Colorado to be playing in the college football playoff right now. And everything is in front of us.
Insane. Absolutely insane. You're talking about dead last team in scoring margin 2 years ago. Dead last, 131st out of 131 teams. And now we're talking about percentage points that they might win the Natty? That's crazy. It's impossible to even fathom, other than this is the greatness of Coach Prime and what his staff has brought. This is the attention to detail that makes Coach Prime great, right there. It's unbelievable, right, Jake? That line in particular means something to you, doesn't it?
Sreyas is my biggest fan. He loves my memes.
It's so good. That one had 10 million impressions.
Actually, I think Chase is probably my
Sports
biggest
retweeted
fan.
us,
He always
right?
mentions me when I'm not on the pod. So, but yeah, what a special time. Go for it, Topher.
I think on the podcast I did claim that if the Buffs win a national championship, I'd let Twitter pick which ass cheek I get a Buffs tattoo on. So, if you are feeling generous and you do bet that and you want to put a little bit into that tattoo fund, I'd be much appreciated. That's all I got for you.
I have one more. I sent a tweet today that we have to extend Coach Prime. And Signetti at Indiana just got extended today, who's had a phenomenal year. He'll probably win Coach of the Year if we're being honest. Like what he has done is downright incredible. It's also almost exactly what Coach Prime did and got a lot of hate for, right? Brought all of his transfers in from his previous school and started winning. And it's totally fine and respectful when he does it. White coach, not okay when Coach Prime does it. Who knows? I'm not going to make the comment there, but I'm just saying. But the question is, like, can Colorado afford to extend Coach Prime, make him one of the most highly paid coaches in college football in the $10 million range? And people have said it. Coach Prime has made his money. Maybe the money doesn't matter. But if that's what it takes to get him to stay and you need to come up with the money, the question is, can Colorado afford not to extend Coach Prime? And you think about like what he's done for the university. And I don't want to beat this to death or even maybe turn into a conversation because we could do an entire podcast about this. And hopefully this will become a moot point because we'll find a way to get him extended. But at this point, we are 8-2. We have a legitimate Heisman potential candidate. We have a path to the Big 12 championship. It is too expensive to not find a way to do whatever it takes to make Coach Prime happy at the University of Colorado. Whatever more you think he needs to prove, he's done it. He has proven it. He's earned his payday. And like he said, you either elevate or get terminated. We need to make sure that the elevation is at the University of Colorado Boulder and we find a way to get him paid. So I had to include that in here somewhere. And, that's the thing that's going to keep me up at night. And I don't even know if there's any contract he could sign where we would feel 100% certain that he's going to stay. And I know we're a little extra gun shy after the Mel Tucker thing happened. And if he goes to the NFL to go catch the Cowboys, you know what? I'll cheer for him every game. Don't even if it happens. But
that's not happening.
The only reason Coach Prime should leave is because he wants to leave. It should not be because Colorado's not able to find a way. And that includes the fans stepping up and the alumni stepping up and stuff like that. But we need to be serious about this because this is it, right? Like the thing that we have dreamed about for years as CU fans is here. And, Indiana found a way to pay their guy. I get it. They're in the Big Ten. There's more money there. But we got to find a way to make it happen. So, I tweeted about it, got to throw it in here. But, this win in particular, we're going to be probably in the top 15 easily in the college football playoff this week. Like it's been proven. It's done.
Yeah, I'll say we should do at some point a deep dive on why he left Jackson. And if anyone in the comments, if anyone's watching this has more of that information, like we'd love to hear more about what happened at Jackson. But our understanding, based on some of the stuff that we heard, is that it had a lot to do with his assistant coach pool, right? There was not enough money to take care of them. Those assistant coaches had been with him since he was coaching like middle school, high school. That's like his crew, right? And frankly, as we've already beaten to death, he doesn't need the money, but he wants to do right by them because they are integral to his success. So I imagine that that's where this conversation starts. But like I said, if anyone has more information, we would love to hear more about that background, and we would love send us links, send us comments, teach us more about what happened at Jackson, because we know that he loved it there and he had the opportunity to elevate them as well. But then it just turned into a situation where he couldn't take care of his guys. Yeah.
And not being P5 obviously doesn't help, but he built a huge legacy there at Jackson, and it was a great place to start his story. Obviously with the HBCU ties Dion has as well. But Chase, I want to comment on what you were saying, and you kind of hit on what I was going to hit on here towards the end. You said Colorado needs to do everything they can to keep Coach Prime. I think Rick George 100% thinks the exact same thing. My biggest concern is, do we have the resources? And just like you said at the end, fans, we need you all to step up. Big time boosters, donors, alumni, we need you to step up because now is the time to give to Colorado. Now is the time more than any other time in arguably CU history. Now is the time to donate to CU, not even in the NIL fund, but to the Coach Prime fund. Donate to CU Athletics and add a comment. This is for Coach Prime's extension. We really need the university to back this because I just hope they have the funding. And I think Rick George will get it done. I tweeted this earlier today. At the end of the game, there's a video of Rick hugging Constance, which is Coach Prime's agent. It was just a big bear hug, and I think that's a good sign, right? If Coach Prime's on great terms with his agent, or not Coach Prime, Rick George is on great terms with Coach Prime's agent, I think that's a great sign. And I think all of Buff Nation agrees with you, Chase. And Chase, you actually hit this in the group chat. Maybe you can talk to this a bit. It's been so awesome to see all the Coach Prime fans embrace CU, and all the Coach Prime fans want Coach Prime to stay at CU. They're the biggest defenders when Stephen A goes, Coach Prime's going to the Cowboys. They're the ones stepping in and being like, no, he's not. Colorado's a great place to be. Look at our last week's episode with Dukes. Dukes is a great example of that. He loved Coach Prime a lot earlier before he loved CU. And he's like, why would he leave? Why would he leave? Colorado's a great situation for Coach Prime. He can get to the playoffs fairly easily. Well, not easily, but easier than the Big Ten SEC. It's a great spot.
Yeah.
We're even seeing some of that attrition. We're seeing some of that attrition happening possibly right now in some of those other conferences because Wisconsin's up on Oregon right now too. So that's the type of thing that is very likely to happen. There's going to be a lot of infighting and cannibalism in the SEC, which has no undefeated teams, by the way, and every team is beating each other up. So Big 12, you absolutely do have the opportunity to be the big fish in a small pond, and he has the opportunity to do it his way too, which I think is huge. Dukes nailed it last week. Yeah, Dukes nailed it last week when he said, because Dukes came from Auburn, right? And he nailed it. Like, we don't have those big meddlesome boosters here. You know, George Solich, I think we've heard about him like being a big booster, but he's definitely doesn't give me any of the meddlesome vibes. Like, we haven't heard him. We haven't heard anyone involved, like any alumni involved with possibly coach hires, maybe since Embry, because they wanted that buff guy, and maybe they all gave up after that because of, you know, we all love John Embry as an alum, but his coaching tenure was such a failure. So yeah, we are allowing Prime to have the keys to the car, and that is something that money can't buy. And frankly, there's not many other programs that are at the status that we have. So we have won before. There is support to the program that can offer him this kind of thing. So I'm optimistic, very optimistic.
Yeah, and just to touch on a thing that Jake had kind of brought up, but what's been really cool. So I live in Atlanta, and I think that got brought up in the last episode for other reasons. But living in Atlanta, you know, you meet a lot of people who are Coach Prime fans first that have kind of started to follow Colorado. And what's been really cool, and if you're still listening to our podcast here almost an hour in, we really appreciate the Coach Prime fans, because there was a while where it was a little contentious, right? Some of the older CU fans were like, oh, you know, gatekeeping, whatever. We've been through it all, so you don't deserve to come in at the last minute. And then, you know, Coach Prime fans that kind of came in for a little while, and they were like, Coach Prime's too good for Colorado. He's going to be in and out. You know, we're Prime ride or dies. But it's been really cool to see, like, the Coach Prime fans and the Colorado fans. Like, everyone, at the end of the day, everyone's a Colorado fan. Everyone's a Coach Prime fan. And so it's been really cool to see them say, you know what? He's got a good situation in Boulder. He's happy in Boulder. He's got what he needs to succeed in Boulder. And Coach Prime, you know, he's not someone that's not going to be able to feed his family if he doesn't, you know, go and get it, you know, an extra couple $1 million a year or whatever. I get it. Like, there's other resources and factors at play. But I just want to give a shout out to, you know, and they're probably listening to the podcast right now or watching it on YouTube, the Coach Prime fans that have stuck around, and, you know, they want him to stay at Colorado and stay in the good situation. And to your point, Sreyas, we're biased, but it's hard to imagine a better situation than Colorado, where if you want to be the guy and you want to be in charge and you don't want meddlesome boosters and you don't want, you know, people looking over your shoulder, and you want to have carte blanche, do whatever you want with the program. We trust you and we believe that you're going to build it. Colorado's the place to be. You have access through the P4, you have access to the playoff, but you don't have the booster. You don't have the issues. The only big downside that I keep hearing about is it's not in the SEC for recruiting. Coach Prime doesn't care about that. He's going to recruit anywhere. He recruited Travis Hunter to Jackson State, right? Like, Coach Prime recruits. That's not a problem. And the weather, as we all know, the weather in Boulder, Colorado is absolutely spectacular. And even when it snows, it's not too cold. I just, you know, I think it's a good situation. And I just want to say, like, I appreciate the Coach Prime fans that are ride or die with us, that go after Stephen A. Smith on Twitter with us. And, you know, I just think it deserves a moment to give him a shout out. But Jake, there's some also pretty exciting recruiting news that might make people think that, you know, Coach Prime's not going to just leave if he's trying to get people to flip. Who knows?
Yeah. So let's start with probably the biggest name of this potential class, Juju Lewis. There was some talk that he was going to go visit Indiana this week, and those talks were shut down. And there was some post from an Indiana message board that Indiana has shut down their recruitment with Juju Lewis. And also there were multiple crystal balls put in for Juju to come to CU. Following that, Juju's trying to throw people off his trail, and he is currently visiting the University of Georgia for their game. Hopefully they lose tonight. Again, when you're watching this, you probably know that by now. But I think the Buffs stand, they're in a great spot for Juju Lewis. Again, he's a 5-star quarterback, one of the top QBs in the class. He's no longer a 5-star on 247 or on 3 because they both think he's going to CU. So, name to watch out for, Juju Lewis. And this week, we had a ton of phenomenal visitors come to Boulder. Kind of the headliner of the visitors, Michael Carroll, inside interior offensive lineman from none other than IMG, George Seton's school, and also Cash Cleveland's high school. So what better recruiting pitch than you got 2 starting freshmen on CU's roster from IMG. Come to CU. So yeah, Michael Carroll, 5-star. He's a 98 grade on 247. He is currently committed to Alabama. He has offers from pretty much anywhere he wants to go. But just to read out a few: Alabama, Miami, Georgia, Arkansas, CU. Really, he's a stud. Also, we have his teammate from IMG, Alexander McPherson, also came to visit the Buffs. He is currently committed to Oklahoma State. He is a 6'5", 240 defensive lineman, 3-star, 86th grade on 247. Also has a very awesome offer list, just to name a few: Colorado, NC State, Oklahoma State. So another IMG teammate. It would be great to see both of our lines come straight from IMG because it is the premier high school in the United States. Plus also those Florida boys, bring them to Boulder. To keep going down the list, another visitor we had this week was Amari Jones, cornerback out of Bradenton, Florida. He's 6'1", 160, 3-star on 247, 4-star composite grade on 247. He's an 89 grade, but a great cornerback prospect. Has offers from Arkansas, Auburn, Florida State, and also CU. Still going through the list here, Jaden O'Neal. He is not a 2025 recruit, but he's a 2026 recruit currently committed to Oklahoma. He's a 6'3", 200-pound quarterback, 4-star, 95 composite grade on 247. This guy's a stud. He's one of the top quarterbacks in the 2026 class. Is currently committed, I think I said this, currently committed to Oklahoma, has offers from Oklahoma, Auburn, Arkansas, Arizona State, Arizona, among others. And then you also had current commits, Quinnell Farrakhan Jr. and Mantrez Walker, that were in attendance to today's game. Another great reason to have those guys there to make the recruiting pitch to some of those studs. So an exciting recruiting week for the Buffs. It's awesome to see them. Phil Folsom with 5 stars, 4 stars. And who could say no? When Chad Ochocinco is there, standing there right next to you, Terrell Owens is also on the sidelines, Rajon Rondo's in Boulder, and your coach is Warren Sapp and Deion Sanders. How can you say no to that? So exciting times in Boulder on the recruiting front. You guys have any final thoughts?
Yeah, and all of that recruiting news is awesome, right? I think Juju Lewis is going to announce it's going to be the first domino that's really going to cascade this. I think back to the interview that Prime did a while ago when he said, "You know me as Primetime, but you'll remember me as Coach Prime," right? And that means he's building a legacy. He's building the pipeline here, and he's going to build that legacy at Colorado. Like you guys have all touched on it, that it's a perfect situation, and I think that all these other schools that are like, oh, we're SECs, we're perennial powerhouses, I think the story is better told of Coach Prime reviving a powerhouse that was from the depths of hell than taking over a program that had just kind of lost its way for a couple years, right? There is, a tinge of destiny in this season that I feel, right? It seems like the winds are at our back. Things are falling our way. Who knows what's going to happen moving forward? All I know is that Coach Prime and his legacy at the at the University of Colorado is just getting started.
With that, did you have a final thought, Chase?
I was just going to preview Kansas. Just found the spread. They just released it a little bit early.
Oh, yes. We need to do the Kansas preview. Thank you.
Yeah. So next game coming up, Buffs -2.5. So slight favorites. Feeling a little disrespected by that line. And I don't see an over under yet set on the game. I would imagine if I had to take a stab at it, it's gonna be fairly high. But 2.5 point favorites going to Lawrence. I understand that. Let me go ahead and just give my preview real quick. I'm not afraid of Kansas. I think people are being way over dramatic about Kansas. I hope I don't live to regret this, but they beat Iowa State. Iowa State turns out to be a little bit fraudulent. And at the end of the day, I think we just have too many weapons. 2.5 is going to be easy to cover, in my opinion. I think Colorado goes in, and I think Colorado takes it out on Kansas. I think we find a way to stop Jaden Daniels, both with our secondary as well as our defensive line. Defensive line is going to be the difference in this game, I think, and I have Colorado winning this one. I'll call it, we've been scoring in the 40s basically every week, so I'll call it 45, 30, 37. I think there'll be a lot of points scored, but I think we have enough to get it done. I do think this one's going to be a little bit scarier, not a coast-to-coast kind of win like Utah was.
I'm very interested to see how Kansas does against BYU tonight. That's so that as of this recording, the game hasn't even started yet. It's another half hour away from even kicking off, but that's going to be very, very telling. If Kansas continues to play the way that they have the last couple of weeks, realistically, they've been playing pretty well all season. They just find ways to lose, which of course is the hallmark of not necessarily a great team, but they have a lot of talent. They had a lot of returning talent from a pretty solid squad. I think they won 9 games last year, which was, that made Lance Leipold kind of a figure in reviving a program that, well, frankly, was never. They had one really good season with Mangino, but they were never really a powerhouse team in football. They were always a basketball school, and so they did take a step back in wins this year. But that is definitely a talented team. So we'll keep an eye on that BYU Kansas game for sure. It's going to be very difficult to predict this, but my gut says 31-17 CU.
Ooh, all right, I guess I will go. I like you guys have said, I think this Kansas team is very talented. I think their quarterback has had some issues, taking care of the football early on, which led to them finding ways to lose games. But he is one that is not afraid to sling it. And so when you have a team that has nothing to lose, that has a lot of talent, and we are on the road in a place that's traditionally bad for Colorado teams, it's a recipe that makes me a little bit worried. And I know I'm a pessimist here, but give it to me. I think it's going to be a back and forth game, and I think it's going to come down to a field goal. So give me Mata hitting a 44-yarder left hash to win it 31-28.
Yeah, Kansas has been hot recently. Jalen Daniels has been looking a lot better down the stretch. Like Sreyas, I'm curious to see how that BYU game turns out. I'm believing in the Buffs. It's not on Kansas's campus, right? It's at the Chiefs Stadium, so that might help the Buffs. Hopefully, we get a good Colorado turnout from the fans. I'm going to go Buffs 35, Kansas 28 in a close one. So with that, now I can put up my banner to say thanks for watching. With that, thanks for watching. What a great win from the Buffs to beat Utah. Please subscribe on YouTube, X/Twitter, Instagram, etc. You know where to find us.